As saying a number of how many hits you hit somebody. Well, they hit me 5 times. We're not going to talk about that time. What I'm going to talk about is a time which human beings, we as mankind, are constricted about. Time is a word that we use every day many times, and we really think nothing of it. We'll say, well, we went somewhere, and we'll say, well, that was really just a waste of my time. You know, sometimes some of us, we can say that through this life we have had some hard times. Some people may ask, well, in this church service, what time is it? Why, military, you know, they go and they have you marching in double time. Medicines nowadays, they come in with time release capsules. Lovers may have an intimate time, and the older we get, we say time just seems to fly by. We seem to run out of time when we're doing things important that we really need to get done. Even in church, you know, when the preacher preaches too long, and get long-winded. Here at the house, we call it a talking spirit. But a lot of us will say, well, it's time for him to be quiet and sit down. But before I get to that point, trust me, I believe I'll be sitting down before you get tired of hearing me. And you may not believe it, but I'm almost 1/4 of the way done with my message already. You know, but I want to explain to you about time. And if you think about, go back to the beginning, when God created the heaven and the earth. God spoke everything into existence, and when he finished, he made man. He told man, I give you dominion over everything that I've created. You got dominion over the fowls of the air, the fish of the sea, all the beasts and the animals. He said, I give you dominion over all of this. But God, in his intimate wisdom, knew not to give man dominion over time. You see, if man could control time, man would live forever. The poor man would die, but the rich man would live on because he would control time. You see, God realized he had to have something to be able to control mankind, and time God uses to control them. If you go into Ecclesiastes, you'll find out it says, to everything there's a season and a time. It lets you know that there's a time to be born and a time to die. And if you ever realize God balances out everything that he has. He created light and he created darkness. He created young and he has old. He has good and he has evil. Everything God created, he made it to where it had something to balance it out. You see, death came in and he also created eternal life. You think about when Adam and Eve was in the garden, after they had sinned, God said we got to put them out the garden because if they bite from the tree of life, mankind will be able to live forever, and then we would be equal with God. You see, God is not restrained about time because God stands outside of time, and he watches his creation as they move through time. You see, time, a lot of us think that time is just something neutral and just happens to go by. But I remind when I was young, I loved to play football, and I always told I was going to be like O.J. Simpson. And one day my mother said, well, son, why do you want to be like O.J.? I said, Mom, I want to be like O.J. because O.J. rich and making money. She said, son, I want you to understand something. Money's good. She said, but don't worry too much about money because as long as they're making money, you'll be able to have some. She said, but once your time is gone, you'll never be able to get that time back. She said, so your number one thing other than living for God should be making sure that you use your time wisely. Well, you see, time, I found out the two sides of time today I'm going to talk about is time either being for you or time being against you. You see, a lot of us think that we control time, but I want you to know time really controls what you do. Yeah, I know you might say, well, preacher, how can you tell me time being for me or time being against me? Well, you see, I'm thinking about Ponce de Leon. You know, he was a Spanish explorer back in 1513, and he went searching for what he called the fountain of youth. He figured if I can find this fountain of youth that makes it where you never grow old, then he know that him and the Spanish kingdom could live forever. He said that way we can control the world because we would never die and everybody else would die. And we would control the world because we'll control who lives and who dies. I thank God that Ponce de Leon couldn't find something that didn't exist. Well, let me take that back. It does exist, but he couldn't find it where he was looking for it at. Because I want you to know it exists in Jesus Christ. Well, now I'm going to tell you how time can be against you. We have the story about the rich, as they say, the rich man or the rich fool. You see, this Bible tells me that this man, his field had brought forth plenty. And you know, the Bible said that God will bless you exceedingly abundantly more than you can ask or think. I want you to know now that this rich man, God had blessed him abundantly more than even he had imagined. You might say, preacher, I didn't read that in the word, but I want you to know the man looked and said, I have nowhere to bestow my goods. If he had a thought that his field was going to bring all of that, he would have been tore down his small barns and had the big barns waiting to put everything into. But because God had blessed him abundantly, he looked back and said to himself, what am I going to do with all of my goods? You know, a lot of us, we sit back and while we're struggling, we say, if the Lord bless me, I'll be able to give $20 every service. I'll do it in an offering. God blesses us and we're able to do $20 and we still bring that same $2 and $3 we've been given when we were struggling. I found out because I know this young lady and she had said, when I get to this money, I'm supposed to have, when I get this money, I'm going to pay my tithe, I'm going to bless the church. And my wife will tell you I'm telling the truth. And she got a lump sum of money. Well, the church didn't see the tithes and the church didn't see no blessing. What happened was her family never wanted to deal with it, but once she got that money, she told them, all of a sudden all her family came and decided she was the best one of them all. Next thing you know, she was broke again, borrowing money from me and my wife, and she said, well, if the Lord bless me again, this time I'll really do it. And this is a true story my wife will tell you. The Lord blessed her the second time. The second time the Lord blessed her, the church didn't see any tithes and the church didn't get blessed. Came back a few months later, the same thing happened. Her family came back in and they had problems. I mean, I know you love your family, don't get me wrong, but if you ain't been having $10,000 problems before I got money, don't you have none on my money. I mean, no, it don't mean I don't love you or I'm stingy. You can't plan my money for me. Let me plan my money. Soon as somebody get money, we think, oh, they my family. I need to know. You need to get that car you driving now was good. Don't go get no $30,000 car talking about, can you help me pay it off? How much do you have? Well, I got $300. I'm not paying $29,700 for you to drive no new car. Okay, don't plan my money. Well, her family planned her money. And when she finished, she was broke all over again. And she said, if God bless me, and I just told my wife, I don't even want to hear this no more. Why? He did it twice, but that's what we'll do. If God blesses, we say how much and what we'll do before we get blessed. But all of a sudden, God had blessed this rich man abundantly. And the rich man only thought of one person when he got blessed. The rich man said, I'm going to tear down my little barns. I'm going to build my big barns. And the reason I'm going to build my big barns is because I want to put all my goods in my barns and tell my soul, I'm going to say, soul. And I imagine his soul said, huh? The man said, sit back and be at ease. Eat, drink, and be merry for many years. I don't have to do no more work. I can kick my feet back up if I had it back then on my lazy boy and just relax and watch television. But I want you to know, but God said, thou fool. Now see, time had just got against this man. He said, thou fool, this night. You didn't plan what you're going to do 5 years from now. You're not even going to see the morning. He said, this night thy soul is required of thee. He said, now who shall all of this be? Yeah, you said, if I bless you, what you going to do? And I blessed you, but you didn't do it. God said, that's okay, but I want you to understand, don't get caught with time being against you. You see, because when time is against you, it means that God is against you. Now, see, understand something. Time wasn't against the rich man because he had died. Because if you saved and you died, time is still on your side. But because this rich man had put his trust and faith in his riches and didn't think about giving God what he was due, all of a sudden time had turned against that rich man. And after that, the rich man was poorer than even I was. But you see, all of a sudden, there's two sides to everything. Like I said, God has it where he balances everything out. Well, I told you about time being against you. Now I'm going to tell you a story about how time can be